Hi. Oh my goodness. Back again, back again, back again. Oh, man, cut it really close to the wire. Was just out with the fams, walking the little one with the hubby, enjoying the sun. Woo! It's been a busy Saturday here in the United States, here in Arizona. How is everyone doing? I'm really excited. We're going to be talking about this really phenomenal book for children or young adults or adults. I, as an adult, thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm talking about Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Boy by Emmanuel, I guess, Aco or Ho. I don't know how you say his last name. But this book was everything. It's a really, really wonderful way to tackle really uncomfortable conversations with your young people, whether they be people of color or not. I think if you're interested in understanding America contextually as to what people of color are going through, this is the book for you. And as you see, I am big on tabulating, meaning when I'm reading, for me to be able to come on here and do a book club, it's really important for me to have specific things I want to talk about. And so, yes, my memory is long and great like a wonderful elephant, but I'm not perfect, right? So, in honor of that, what I do is I tabulate, right? And so I write. I have these tabs where you can write on them, and so I write everything from like I am Black, Negro, uh, birth of white, slave history, like you write everything on there. So let's have a conversation around this book. It's going to be a really good, quick conversation. If you are interested, and again, having uncomfortable conversations around what it's like to be a person of color in this country, please share this out and let me get you going to see my deck so that we can move on. Welcome, 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 everyone. And if you have questions or comments, please put them in. I can definitely see them. I'm here on Facebook. I'm here on LinkedIn. Super exciting. I'm here on, I believe, Twitter, YouTube. I'm everywhere, guys, everywhere. So September Book Club 2021. My name's Natasha Nurse. I am the founder of Dressing Room 8. We'll talk about kind of what we're going through every section of this meeting. So first, meet and greet, get to know me a little bit more on the big book summary so you understand a little bit about the book. I have highlighted sections I'd like to go through. Again, this is a quick conversation, so I probably can't hit every bit of it, but I want to hit as much of it as I can. Lessons learned, because every book you read, every time you consume content, you should be learning something. So I want to share with you the lessons that I learned from reading this book. And then what's next? What are we doing for October? Yes, there's an October book club meeting. Are you kidding me? Amazing, amazing. So we're going to do that. And then, of course, how you can join the book club. Super easy, super easy. It's not like some exclusive thing that it's open to the world. Meet and greet. If you all don't know me, I don't know what I need to do, guys. I don't like, I'm here all the time. Like I had a baby and I'm still like online, like doing things. I don't know. So let's let's figure it out. That's my bubba. That's my booby. I don't know why I call him booby, but that's my booby and me. I had him going on, it's going to be 3 months on Monday, which is super exciting. So he's like in that delicious, yummy, stinky, unapologetic, amazing stage of feed me milk or I will scream all hell. And I love it. Outside of being a mother, what else do I do? I'm a coach. I specifically focus coaching on career, on media, on accountability. I'm a speaker. Hello. Thank you. Thanks. I'm a content creator. I love to make content, whether it's through articles, whether it's through social media content, whether it's videos or presentations. I have a podcast with my hubby, all over the place. What is Dressing Room 8? It is a lifestyle and coaching blog. So if that is not clear to you, go to dressingroom8.com. You'll learn all about it. If you want free coaching, I do free sessions. You can totally sign up if you like. Definitely just hit me up. Go to dressingroom8.com, go on to schedule a session, consultation, and you're ready to go. And what is this book club about? So why should you join this book club? You should join it because I'm here and that's like really amazing. Outside of that reason, if you want another reason, is F. Uh, it's because of the content that I think we cover. I think my book club's really unique in that I don't stick to any specific genre. I don't stick to any specific type of book. I have these moods every single month. I have like kind of a feeling that this month I want to read about uncomfortable conversations about with a Black boy, right? Next month maybe I'll read a graphic novel. Next month maybe I'll read a fiction sexy time book or something, kind of that 50 Shades of Grey kind of situation. Maybe the next book it's going to be personal development. I cover the whole gamut. So if you're interested in a book club that's not going to keep you boxed in, that's not going to keep you confined to one genre or one type of book to read, this is your place, guys. And like I said, hello, friends with Tasha. Like I don't know what else you need really in life. So with that, let me just share with you my life motto and then we'll keep it moving. Learn something new and meet someone new every single day. How do you do it, Tosh? It's called the internet. So I'll just drop the mic there for you on that one. So that's really fun. And I really enjoy it. I find that life is remarkably more interesting when you stick to my life motto of learning something new and meeting someone new every single day. It will amaze you. So if you're cool with that, then I think we can keep it moving. Quick last picture of Booby, and then we're going to keep moving. Okay. So book summary. This comes straight out of Amazon. Yes, I'm addicted to that. If you are not aware of that, that's also like a fun factoid about me. Hello, Amazon. You're like amazing. Thank you for everything you do. Outside of that, what is this book about? Essentially, this is, I think, based off of another book that he wrote. It's also a New York Times bestseller called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. And essentially, this is kind of taking that and presenting it for young people. And that's why I wanted to read it. Now becoming a new mother, I think it's really important for me to, in addition to all the books that I read, and I read a lot because I'm a nerd and I love it and I live in that space and I enjoy it. But I'm a mom, right? So what does that mean for me to be the best mom that I can be, which is definitely of paramount importance to me? Then it means that I have to learn how to be a mom and how to have conversations and how to learn child psychology and parenting tips, from folks who've done it before me and who are, currently doing it. Not like I've done it 50 years ago, but like, what did you do in the last 2 years that made sense for you, right? Things like that. And so for me, I'm always going to be tackling on, I think, a parenting book or a child psychology book or something where it's going to help strengthen me as a mother and be able to better connect with my kid because he's everything. So with that, let's keep it moving. What are the key sections I want to talk about? So there's a lot on this slide. Do you see this, guys? This is the level of attention to detail that I put in here. Like I said, I tabulated a lot. There's a lot of really cool content in here. So if you're like, well, do I really? Yes, you need, look, he talks about the N-word. He talks about white privilege, implicit bias, Black on Black crime. Y'all know that phrase. A Toni Morrison interview that was really interesting. So there's a couple of things I'm going to go through. Like I said, I don't think I have time to hit every single one of these key sections, but obviously this will be available to you here on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter. You'll also be able to access this off the Just Roommate website. So you'll be able to come back to this and obviously get the book, right? Get the book. So on justroommate.com, please. Thank you. So let's go through a couple of this. So now first one, The Birth of Whiteness. I thought that was a really interesting title for the chapter. And so on page 25, he has the following, and I'll just kind of read it to you so you can kind of get a feel of what the writing is and what the content is. What happened next was the beginning of the invention of race as we know it today. In 1681, the word white appeared for the first time as a label for an entire group of people. Europeans were no longer just French, English, German, or Dutch. Now, under the law, they were all part of this new group called white. And the inventiveness of the rich white landowners didn't stop there. Enslaved people from Africa were no longer seen as distinct persons from different cultures like I'm bad with names, sorry guys. Ngongo, Igbo, or Yoruba. With the stroke of a pen, or more accurately, a quill, they became Blacks or Negroes. New laws barred people from these newly created races from marrying outside of their group. Poor whites were given positions of authority over Blacks. Race-based laws also prevented Blacks and Native Americans from testifying against whites in courts, owning property, or holding certain jobs. With each passing law, the freedom of Black people and Native Americans dwindled, while white people received more privileges based solely on being part of the supreme, in quotes, or favored group. By the 1700s, most colonial laws stated only Blacks could be enslaved for life, and that any child born to an enslaved woman was also a slave. So Wow. Wow, guys. These race-based laws grew into a system of racism called white supremacy that continues to take away freedom and opportunities from non-white people while giving advantages to white people for centuries to come. Wow, right? Like there's so much to unpack there. But if again, if you're trying to explain to children historically what is the difference between little white children and the community they're a part of versus non-white kids, that is everything, right? So there's that. Another thing that, and I think that sometimes people really misunderstand, is implicit bias. So let's hit that. So that's on page 43. Hope you enjoy my reading. I think it's kind of fun, but we'll see. Alrighty. So from the title of the chapter is called "What Do You See When You See Me? Implicit Bias." And there's a quote by Nathan Rutstein that says, "Prejudice is an emotional commitment to ignorance." That is beautiful, beautiful, right? Okay, so I'll just start technically page 42 and to 43, okay? A few years ago, a concerned Black mom went to her son's school to mention a problem that she saw with a class assignment. The students in her son's class, which included a few Black kids, had created a timeline of civilizations. The timeline included ancient cultures such as the Greeks, Romans, and Incas, but no African civilizations. When asked why, the school's principal, a white woman, told the mom that the omission of African civilizations from the timeline wasn't about race. She insisted that the school was just following the curriculum. According to the mom, the principal went so far as to say, "We're not talking about whether people are white or Black when they studied ancient cultures," to which the Black mom shot back, "The children have eyes and they can see. And I'd like them to see what are," in kind of quotes, "African culture was a strong, viable culture." Why didn't the school's curriculum include African civilizations? Why didn't the teacher recognize that there were no ancient Black kingdoms on the timeline? And why did the principal think teachers could teach about world civilizations without thinking about race? The short answer is that most of the students at the school were white, and the curriculum was designed with only those students in mind. Instead of changing the curriculum to better reflect all their students and to be more historically accurate, the principal believed that if the teachers just didn't mention race, they were being fair to everyone. The long answer involves something called implicit bias or unconscious bias. Let me first point out that everyone has implicit biases, including me. Hello. They're not just about race. They're your knee-jerk judgments about every superficial difference between people. And don't get me wrong, you shouldn't beat yourself up for every single biased thought or decision. If you see a clown and think danger, look, you're not the only one. Yep, I raised my hand to that one. At the same time, you're responsible for your biases, if for no other reason than that there are ways to make them more conscious. And when an idea is conscious, you can change your mind. So interesting, right? Like the fact that the person, the principal, the teacher just thought, like assumed that it was okay to not talk about a culture because the mass majority of the classroom didn't represent or come from that culture. Wow, right? Total missed opportunity for learning, for understanding, for empathy, and for connection, right? Because the problem with our society, right? There's several problems, but we keep trying to put and hide things, and it's we have to open it up, right? That's why we have to have these uncomfortable conversations, because the only way for you to understand where you're making a misstep is for people to be able to call that out to you. So really interesting stuff there. Now, another thing to talk about, and I think that this will be interesting for you as we have some more time. I think I'm gonna do a couple. So let's go to the 13th Amendment, because I'm not sure if everyone's really aware of that. And the lawyer in me, yes, I said the lawyer. I also happen to be a lawyer. How fun is that? Woohoo! Law school debt. Yes. Guys. Page 140. All right. Black people are much more likely to become involved in the criminal justice system than white people. At about 13% of the US population, Black people make up more than 33% of those in federal and state prisons. That overrepresentation is not an accident, but rather the product of systemic racism, which is also talked about in this book. There you go. Black people are not any more criminal than anyone else. More on that in chapter 10. But they've been criminalized as much or more than any group in America. Ironically, some say this started with a little adjustment to the US Constitution called the 13th Amendment. This was the amendment or change added to the Constitution that made slavery illegal, with one glaring exception. It reads, "Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for crime whereof the parties shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Yeah, I bolded that clause for a reason, so it's bolded in the book. Plenty of scholars have linked that exception clause to the rise of what's now called mass incarceration or the prison industrial complex. Now, why do scholars link mass incarceration today to a clause that was passed back in 1865, over 150 years ago? It's because this exception clause in the 13th Amendment has been used to reintroduce slavery to America since its passage after the Civil War. Practices that forced Black people to work against their will, like convict leasing and prison chain gangs. These practices were especially common in the South, where white people were horrified by the idea that people they had once owned were now their equals in the eyes of the law. Farms and plantations that were once worked by enslaved labor were now in dire need of workers. And the cheaper the labor, the better for white landowners. By making deals with local prisons, the landowners could lease quotes, right? Jailed people, usually Black males, to work for them. It wasn't that Black people had all of a sudden become criminals. These men were often convicted of trumped up crimes, right? Just kind of made bigger than they need to be, like walking beside a railroad or speaking too loudly around a white woman, and sentenced to several years of quote unquote hard labor. Almost overnight, jails that were previously filled with white males became overcrowded with Black men. Convict leasing became so popular that a whole category of laws, Black codes, and eventually pig laws, were created after the Civil War to make breathing while Black as criminal as possible, right? To enforce pig laws, named such because of their association with livestock theft, some cities started police departments or gave local men, some of whom were former slave catchers, the authority to look out for Black lawbreakers. These laws would eventually evolve into Jim Crow laws that upheld segregation in the South for a century. While the 13th Amendment ended slavery on the surface, it loophole paved the way for returning many Black people to slavery. Prisons today don't have programs like that. They just have mandatory labor projects like fighting dangerous forest fires in California, working plantations in Mississippi, or maintaining golf courses in Georgia without a living wage, done disproportionately by incarcerated Black people. So, like, if that is new to you, that is so painful and so challenging as a woman, as a Black woman, as a mother to a Black son. It's just so challenging, right? So again, this is why I just was like totally amazed at how the content was broken down, right? Like you heard me read that. It wasn't hard to understand. It wasn't, something that made you say, oh, I don't want to read this, but it makes you say, wait a minute. Say what now, right? And you're just constantly left with this feeling of like, wait a minute, this is happening in America? Yeah. So there's that. So a couple more things, and then we're going to start to wrap this up because y'all got a life to live, and you're like, okay, Tosh, I'm going to buy the book. I'm going to buy it. I know you are. dressingyourmate.com. All right. So I trust you. I believe in you. You wouldn't hurt your girl's feelings, right? That would be super sad. Page 209, some stats that I thought would be really interesting to just kind of mull over in your mind there. Black men make up about 13% of the U.S. male population, but nearly 35% of all men who are under state or federal jurisdiction with a sentence of more than 1 year. Interesting. 1 in 3 Black men born in 2001 can expect to be incarcerated in his lifetime, compared to 1 in 6 Latino men and 1 in 17 white men. That's not disproportionate. Black people are incarcerated in state prisons at a rate 5.1 times greater than that of white people. I wonder why. 13th Amendment, maybe? Oh, interesting, right? That exception clause? Interesting. 1 in 18 Black women born in 2001 will be incarcerated sometime in her life, compared to 1 in 45 Latino women and 1 in 111 white women. Wow. And 44% of incarcerated women are Black, although Black women make up about 13% of the female population. How is it that we make up so little of the nation and are damn near the majority of the people in prison, right? Like, think about that. Think about what kind of epidemic that is and why that's literally not the topic of conversation every single day. It floors me. I'm not quite sure. So there's that. But again, talking to our youth, talking to our children. It's really important for them to understand the world that they're living in, and especially our young Black boys and our young Black girls. When people look at them, what are they seeing? They're seeing a future prison mate. They're seeing someone who is a future criminal, right? Because we are being imprisoned and incarcerated at such an alarming rate that it really you have to wonder just how safe our children are in these streets. How is it that they feel comfortable to dream big dreams when really they're just expected to be in prison, right? And or are going to be put into situations and or exposed to certain situations that will just lend for that outcome for them in their life. So it's a really challenge. It's a beautiful time to be alive, but it's also a really challenging time. And that's why this book is so deeply important, to discuss these uncomfortable things, because this is what's happening. This is the world that my son is living in. This is the world that I live in, right? Every time me and my husband step outside, our lives are literally at risk. We're literally just the color of our skin. So if that's not unfair, if that's not challenging enough, I don't know. I argue that you give me something more challenging to think about there. So now let's go to the Toni Morrison interview, and then we'll start to wrap this up. And, I don't know if you were a fan of her, but I loved her. I thought she was everything, So page 268, interview with the author and Nobel laureate Toni Morrison, the Colbert Report 2014. Stephen Colbert, or Stephen, Colbert, you know who I'm talking about. He says, I don't see race. Toni says, she chuckles. Colbert, I've evolved beyond racism. I don't see race. I don't even see my own. People tell me I'm white and I believe them because I haven't read any of your books. Audience laughter. But can I, as a white man, understand the African-American experience? Morrison, well, you have to know something about racism. Colbert, but then wouldn't I be a racist if I thought about racism? Morrison, perhaps, but more important than that is that there is no such thing as race. Colbert, really? Morrison, it's just a human race. Scientifically, anthropologically, racism is a construct, a social construct, and it has benefits. Money can be made off of it. People who don't like themselves can feel better because of it. It can describe certain kinds of behaviors that are wrong or misleading. So it has a social function, racism, but no race. Race can only be defined as a human being. Just leave that there, right? And I think that to me, I do that little conversation, that exchange is everything, because people fail to realize that, we go on. And again, I get it, right? There's money to be made. There's, what by segregating and differentiating and isolating people, you create a society that, the powers that be want to live in. But ultimately, what is the race that we're all a part of? The human race. What is the world, the global economy are a part of, right? That one planet Earth that we're on. It's not Black planet and white planet and Asian planet and Indian, but one planet Earth, one race, the human race. So if we can get to a place in our society where we hone in and focus on what's benefiting the human race, how are we furthering the human race, then maybe, just maybe, we could actually affect change in this world. Maybe, just maybe, we could make people feel good about who they are and the skin that they're in, regardless of the land that they come from or the ethnic community or racial community they're a part of, right? So again, those are just some tidbits. I know you're like, Tosh, more. I know. Come on down. So much. But please go to dressingroom8.com. You'll get the book there. It'll navigate you to Amazon. You'll get the book. You'll read it. If you have a kid, if you happen to have a child, get it for them. If you are just looking for more knowledge in a kind of really easy, digestible way for you, get the book for you. And especially mamas and papas out there and caretakers of young Black boys and young Black girls, please get this book for them. Please get this book for them immediately. All right. So with that, let's keep this moving. I hope you enjoyed the reading of some of these key sections. Like I said, freaking amazing. So what are the lessons that I learned? So uncomfortability equals growth. What do I mean by that? I mean that human beings, we don't grow when we're comfortable. We grow when we're uncomfortable. right? And it works from any racial community you happen to be a part of, right? As a Black person, there's certain uncomfortabilities I may have within my own community or with other communities, right? And you have to, for you to see bias, for you to experience and challenge yourself to be better and to use proper pronouns and to understand other narratives that don't relate to you, you have to have uncomfortable conversations. That's when you're going to grow and you're going to be a better person because of it. And it's okay to not say everything right. And it's okay to not even think necessarily as inclusively as maybe you should. But the point is you have to learn where you're making the mistake so that you can grow and get a bit better and to embrace everyone. Because again, one race, the human race. Thank you very much. Knowledge is power when coupled with action. So it's not enough to just get a book like this and be like, oh, I read it. I'm totally not racist. It's amazing. Like, no, what are you doing, right? What are you doing to further your community and other communities that you're not a part of, that don't look like you, that come from a different walk of life than you? That is where you have power. Right? It's not just about learning about bias and learning about the systemic racism. Oh, or knowing you have racist family members. What are you doing? Right? Are you educating them? Are you helping the community you're trying to help? Like, what are you doing? It's about action. It's not just about knowledge. So that's really an important piece, because I've heard that a bit too much in my life of like, oh, this, my grandparents are this, and I'm really good with this community. Really? Well, what are you doing? What did you do to help that community if you're so good with it, right? Like, what are you doing? Right? Or my classic one, I just really want to be an ally. Well, what does allyship look like? It's more than just saying that. So that's actually a topic I'm really excited to talk about on my podcast with the hubby, wokenfree.com, guys. Definitely check that out. Because that's a really interesting conversation, allyship, right? It's more than just words and rhetoric. It's really about that action piece. When people are like, I really just want to be a supporter of you. Well, what have you done for me lately? Right? Like, right? It's more, if you're in a position of power, if you're in a position to be able to help someone, then that's how you show your allyship. You don't just talk about it, just donate money, but you actually do something, right? So that's a whole other can of worms. We're not going to open that today. We got things to do as well, guys. All right. And then remember, we have to be the change you want to see in this world, because ultimately it's, again, goes back to that idea of like, you read a book like this and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe my parents said this, or I can't believe this person did this. And then what are you doing, right? How are you being the change that you want to see? Because yeah, people in your world will say and do really crazy, wild things, like wild in like not a good way. Not a good way. Be like, no, this shouldn't have happened. Oh my God. But you don't have to do that. You can be better. You can be the change that you want to see. All right. So what's next? So October, this is what we're going to read. It's called The Power to Write, 7 Keys to Discover Your Writer Within. Why did I choose this book? Again, because so many people are kind of this hidden writers, like living within them. They're like, I want to write a book. I'm going to start writing a book. Well, let's work through that, right? Let's help you. Let me help you help you. Essentially, the coach and the mentor and the friend in me wants to be able to help kind of accelerate those writing goals and dreams for anyone who is interested. So whether you're part of the book club or not, I know if you want to write, you definitely need to make this meeting. So make sure you do that. The dates and all of the times and all that is listed on dressingroom8.com. So make sure you go there and you RSVP and join, so I can anticipate all the audience coming through. Thank you very much. And I think it'll be a fun conversation. Next, how do you join the book club? Really easy. So dressingroom8.com. On the homepage, there's like a little thing that says like join the book club. You click on the image and it'll take you to the book club in Facebook, and you'll join, and it'll be amazing. And I can't wait to see you there. So dressingroom8.com. See you there. Okay. And then outside of that, thanks. Right. So more questions about what we talked about today with Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Boy, Emmanuel Acho, or Acho, or I apologize if I say his name wrong. Not so good at that. I'm working on it though. I am. I do actually on my podcast. My husband is very into names. I'll just leave it at that. And constantly learning how to pronounce new names. So it is a work in progress. I'm really happy about that, actually, because that is something that has been an issue for me. So check this book out, Dressing Room, the number 8.com. Thank you for joining. We're at time again here, really, and it's been fun, guys. So I don't necessarily see any comments right now, but if there are, come back, put them in, okay? And if you have any suggestions for books, I am planning 2022, obviously. So definitely put that in there in the comments as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Typically, I curate the list for the year, but I'm open to hearing ideas, okay? So make sure you do that. Thank you for joining. I hope you have a wonderful, blessed, joyous, happy, free Saturday here in the United States, or whatever day of the week it is, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.